Hello everyone. Hello participants. Hello panelists. Thank you so much for joining in. And today is a very special occasion. We in India, we are celebrating our Republic Day. Plus, this month is again special for us as we are also celebrating Data Privacy Awareness Month. And along with that, it makes it even more special that we have all the women, few of the leading women in privacy with us today. And to extend our efforts towards Data Privacy Awareness Month, we have put together this special session where we try to consolidate experiences, learnings, and tips from women to advance all your privacy careers. I hope you guys are excited. So before we move forward, I think it makes a lot of sense to introduce our panelists and then we can continue with the interesting session that we have planned for you. So hey guys, I'm Alka and I am currently based in Ranchi. I'm working with Autodesk in the capacity of Privacy and Compliance Manager. I'm super excited to speak with all of you, our super amazing panelists who we are going to talk in this session. Plus, it would be interesting to hear from the participants as well. So over to you guys.
A very good morning to all the participants, to all the panelists. A very happy Republic Day to you. And my name is Anshu Singhal. I'm currently working in the role of a data protection officer at yatra.com. I hope you're aware of Yatra. It's an online travel aggregator, a very popular website in India. I'm also managing their risks and compliances. I have more than 20 years of experience in various domains, and I'm currently based out of Gurgaon. So that's a little brief about myself. Thank you.
Good morning, lovely ladies. It's really good to see you all ladies decked up to hear everyone under this panel. So I'm Himani Gupta, based out of Delhi. I'm currently working as an in-house senior legal counsel with Airbus Group India Private Limited. We are an OEM of aircraft, helicopters, and working in the defense. Working across multiple domain, diverse experience under contract, governance, legal. From the last 3-4 years, very closely working on data privacy topic for Airbus in India and South Asia. As I mentioned, based out of Delhi. So yes, it's quite. Oh, I'm overwhelmed to see the people from across region, the panelists from Gurugram, Bangalore, and Oana from the different region altogether. It's lovely to see you and really looking forward for an exciting panel discussion. Thank you.
Hey, thanks a lot, Himani. Hi, good morning, everyone. Happy Republic Day to all celebrating. So I'm Samyang, currently working as Associate Director with Flipkart. Flipkart is a big group, which is part of Walmart. I have overall close to 18 years of experience. I'm from legal background, having worked as most of my career, it's been as an in-house legal counsel. I started with a manufacturing unit, 3M, then moved to Honeywell and Accenture. So I have, worked in various industries, got, familiarized with the way how they work, the kind of, businesses that they handle. Now I'm in e-commerce, which is something which is all the more exciting, an industry, which is kind of an industry. So I'm based in Bangalore. Happy to connect with all of you.
So this is Lata. I'm based out of Bangalore. Good morning, everybody, and happy Republic Day. I'm working as a privacy specialist at Intel currently. I started my career with Infosys and then moved on to Deloitte, Philips, and now at Intel. So like how Soumya said, I have also worked in various domains that includes service-based company, consulting firm, and product-based company. I started my career with information security and gradually moved towards data privacy which was one of my passionate subjects. Currently, my roles and responsibilities or my expertise lies with IoT, smart buildings, products, and various other privacy assessments that are involved for in-house projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you as well. It's a pleasure being here today with you. I'm Oana Duguță. I'm joining from Bucharest, Romania, from the European side. I'm data protection officer at Verifone. I'm covering their e-commerce side for the European entities and the US one. I have also legal background, 14 years of experience in risk and compliance, started in risk roles and then moved towards to compliance and data protection. I'm also part of the advisory board for the exam developer on the US side at the IABP. It's pretty much impressive that we are more of women leading this data privacy field, and indeed we are making a change. Thank you for inviting me here with you today.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, everyone, for the brief introductions. So now I think without any further delay, let's get on to the conversation, right? So I think my first question, I think it's interesting to hear that we have panelists with experience in different industries, right? In experiences in coming from consulting, service-based companies, product-based companies, and e-commerce platforms, right? So my question to you, Samya, is what are the cultural differences that you've seen across these industries towards privacy compliance? So what can our participants expect when they join these kind of industries? What is that they can expect?
Various industries handle different kind of information, right? So for example, in a manufacturing sector, the exposure to the personal information would be limited either to the employees or to the sellers and the vendors. But however, the collection and the processing of personal information was very limited, right? So, but then when it comes to consulting businesses, or when we are talking about the service or the technology kind of the businesses, it's always like the client is the one. I mean, if we have a client in European region, of course, we have to comply with the GDPR regulation and we become the processors, right? So the kind of, implementation plan that needs to be adopted in a technology and the service-oriented industry would definitely be based on what we understand from or what we have agreed with the controller, right? But when it comes to e-commerce industry, the current setup that I am in, we collect a lot of data, especially because we interact a lot with our customers, and our customers are our basic asset, right? And we treat our customers with high priority when it comes to the personal information as well. There are a lot of processes that we have to build around, though in India, right, we do not have a specific GDPR regulation as such, but then of course, as an e-commerce industry and as well as being a Walmart company, we take a lot of importance. We give a lot of importance when it comes to the data protection, data security controls. We try to implement a lot of best practices, right? Because now people are a lot aware on the privacy, even in India. Right? It might not be the same probably 5 years or 6 years before, but I think GDPR was a trigger point for all of us. I mean, I'm sure most of you might agree that GDPR was one regulation which, it laid a red carpet for all of us, saying that, okay, come, you need to understand what privacy is. You need to know the importance of privacy, right? Probably in India, we don't give much importance when it comes to our personal information, right? But then while I was in US, I saw the way how people think or consider their personal information, right? So even if there was a letter or a postal, a letter that was received by them, they used to make sure that they shred it, because there is an exposure on this when it comes to identity theft, right? So they understood the importance of personal information. So that was one of the reasons which made me change my career goal as well, from being an in-house counsel to exploring more on to the field of privacy, right? So each industry talks about, it depends upon the way how we handle and manage the personal informations as well.
Yeah, thanks so much, Soumya, for hitting all the relevant points here, right? And I completely agree with you. As a community in India, as a community, we don't really understand privacy, right? We believe in sharing information over protecting information, right? And I think for the participants here, we have newbies, we also have people who want to switch career into privacy, right? So what is your personal recommendation as to which industry should the participants, focus towards, right? So that they can have maximum amount of learning in terms of, exposure to how privacy is truly implemented in a, in a company.
So I think in India, we, if I have to talk about an Indian organization, right? Overall, because of this GDPR, of course, the regulation is something which has helped many other countries as well to take the privacy itself as a serious topic, right? It is everywhere, irrespective of the industry that we are talking about. So only thing that would definitely matter to an individual is to make sure that any kind of information that is being processed or collected, right? We need to implement the regulation. We need to understand, we need to think in the eye of a customer or an individual, how they want their information to be treated, right? What is the right of an individual when it comes to privacy? So I believe that industry specific, definitely that is there, but then privacy is everywhere.
Right. So privacy isn't going anywhere. It's just going to catch up momentum. We've seen, right, 2021, 2020 has been year of new regulations. So thank you so much, Soumya. Lata, I think you also mentioned in your introduction that you have worked with different kind of industries, right? Would you want to compliment, about the personal recommendation?
Yeah, I agree. So most of the points I think Soumya has already covered. Of course, I agree with her points that the type of data that we handle in different industries varies a lot. So in the service-based companies, you handle more of customer data because the Infosys was the company that I started with, as I said earlier. There were a lot of clients and different types, I would call, because I myself played a role of compliance manager for 5 different accounts. And those 5 different accounts were very varied. So one could be a healthcare domain sector where they handled health data, whereas the other would be just an IT service that was being provided, where the data that were processed were very limited, especially the personal data. So moving on again with the consulting firm, I saw multiple different clients, which was again a healthcare sector and e-commerce sector. The type of data that were handled for these 2 different domains were again varied. Both were sensitive personal information, whereas health data had a different level of security that we may have to be implemented so that there is no data leak that happens. Whereas at the e-commerce handling card data was again sensitive personal information. The type of regulations from the privacy perspective that are applicable would be different, at least slightly different, I would call, because the healthcare data would have certain additional privacy concerns, which are with respect to HIPAA that would be applicable if it is the health data of the US region, and e-commerce data altogether, where we have to ensure that PCI DSS compliance was in place to ensure that the confidentiality of the data remains appropriately. That varied enormously. And at Intel, again, the project that I handled was pretty complex. The very first smart building of our organization. I was the privacy analyst for that whole program. Normally, a privacy impact assessment for me would take around 4 to 6 weeks, whereas for the smart building assessment, it took 6 to 8 months, talking to multiple different stakeholders from IT, from the business unit, from the vendors, because everything was made available for the employees at the tip of their finger. The amount of the background devices that are involved, the amount of data that was being collected, processed, being shared with the vendor, the data that handled by the organization itself, it varies a lot. While I say that, who might be very enthusiastic in getting into this domain, the main thing that they have to understand is the privacy principles would remain the same. However, the implementation of it for different types of data would differ. That is where I would like to end with.
Thank you, Lata. Thank you so much for consolidating your thoughts. And I think I completely agree with both of you. The kind of role that our participants will try to look for would typically cover, understanding different kinds of types of processing of data, different industries, so that we understand how the scrutiny applies on this, right? And one point that you mentioned, Lata, is about, talking to different teams, talking to legal counsels, talking to IT department, talking to marketing department, right? So we see that in implementing these privacy principles, privacy requirements, we talk to a lot of people. So I think my next question I'll direct back to Soumya. What are the challenges that you've seen in terms of stakeholder management, right, and how did you tackle those?
Stakeholders, in fact, we always get a pushback from them, right? Especially when they try to say that, okay, what is the why do I need to comply with this? How is it applicable to me, right? Especially when in India, we do not have any specific regulation when it comes to personal information, like the way how we have GDPR, right? So there's always a resistance, there's always a push that comes in. We have to, that's where in Flipkart, we have a privacy program, which has been, from the leadership level, it's been cascaded. So only when that message goes to our, the relevant stakeholders, that's when we will be able to, achieve the privacy, and we'll have to make sure that the privacy program is there. Of course, the same challenge comes when we negotiate with our vendors or sellers, right? So that's how we are. That's the importance that we would like to bring in as well. And leaders, as of now, we have a lot of support from the leaders. Right? They understand what privacy is. They understand what is the value of personal information when it comes to an e-commerce industry, because data is an asset now, right? And of course, if there is any breach or any incidents, right, the first damage would definitely be on the reputation of an organization, right? So we do not want any kind of a scenario wherein, we do not want to be exposed. So that's one message that we would always drive to our stakeholders. We try to create a lot of awareness as well, trying to, make them know what privacy is, what is the importance of privacy, how is it going to help us and protect our customers, what is the value add that we can give, how are the trust that we can gain from the customers and the employees as well.
Thank you so much, Soumya. I think all the amazing points, right? Starting from driving privacy as a culture in the company where leadership team, right, echoes the message across the company, right? So super important point. Thank you so much, Soumya. I see one question in the chat. So Snehal says, I'm looking to change my work field after a break to raise my daughter. So I think I want to ask this question to Anshu. I see, Anshu, that you started as a software developer, then you went on taking more experiences in quality assurance, right? And then further on, you took up various roles in privacy. So I want to understand from you, how did you pave your way into the privacy domain?
In India, data privacy has kind of, come by only after GDPR came into being. It came into effect in May of 2018. And that is when, kind of everybody sat up and took cognizance of the fact that, okay, this is important. Penalties were very, very high. The customers were impacted. There were a lot of, requests from the international customers to be compliant. So that was the trigger point, in India overall, that, data privacy was taken by, with a lot of seriousness. So Now coming to the fact that, how did I pave my way into data privacy? I think it was pretty organic for me. It's like you said that, I started out as a software developer way back in 1999. And after, a couple of years of software development, my last company where I took up that role was Patni Computers in Pune. So after that, I moved into software quality assurance. I implemented a lot of QMS, CMMI, and then ISO 27001. Though ISO 27001 way back in 2007, 2008 was very different from what it is now. There's a lot of change in the whole landscape. It was very different then. But yes, that was the experience. I started with security way back in 2007. So overall, I would say that, all these experience came in very, very handy, because I've also done my PMP. I've also taken up a lot of assignments in organizations for program management. So with Capgemini and RBS, I worked as a senior program manager there. So all these experience and understanding and diverse knowledge, comes into, I would say it was more like a culmination when my data privacy journey started in 2018. So because, at that point of time, the risks were very high. And like I said, there were a lot of penalties. I was also looking at the ITGC compliances, because Yatra is listed at NASDAQ. And also, besides this, I was also looking at ISMS and security. So for anybody, for any security professional, I would say that, privacy is a very, very natural progression. You kind of, because security is at the heart of privacy. A lot of controls which you want to implement to ensure the personal data, to ensure the sensitive personal data, you have to implement those controls. So that is how, I kind of moved, not exactly moved. Security is still my domain. I still manage InfoSec at Yatra, but privacy is also another thing which I manage. So we implemented the PIMS framework at that point of time. So that is how, you learned and you grew with the whole journey, of implementation.
Yeah.
So that was my journey.
Thank you so much, Anshu. Now I'm intrigued to ask you, was privacy a matter of chance or a matter of choice for you?
Alka, I would say that, it was both. I would say a good chance that came my way, and it was my own choice to, delve further into it. So it was both for me. So, when there were expectations from the clients that, we need to comply with the GDPR regulation, that was an opportunity which I chose to pick up. And I told my management, okay, even if it is new, even if I do not have a legal background, I do not mind reading the regulation, going line by line, understanding it and implementing it. So right. Yes, it was both.
Thank you so much, Anshu. And I think it would be the case for a lot of us, right? At least for me, I think I was put on a project and then it just came my way, right? Privacy came my way. So I think thank you so much, Anshu, for adding all your comments. It's impressive. Your journey is impressive, right? And one important point that, Anshu, you spoke about was regarding the, having a security background, right? So I think my next question goes to Himani. We see that privacy professionals usually are from legal or non-legal background, right? Technical guys and non-technical guys, right? So for you, I see that you are more from a legal background. You've completed your LLB, and then currently you're working into different corporate compliance matters. So I want to understand from you, how convenient or how difficult was it to pave your way, right? What kind of, on ground challenges did you face? If you faced any challenge, how did you prepare yourself to overcome those challenges?
Sure, Alka, thanks for posting this question. Just to start with, I will go back when I was working and in my current role as well with Airbus. I was working very closely way back in 2016-17 with business procurement on a different contracts, framing their transactions and working with the marketing team, sales team on the contracts. So yes, as other panelists has also mentioned that way back 5 years, if we look, privacy was not a topic which was discussed in detail. No, being in India, we have never ever thought of that privacy will become that such a big compliance where a different altogether a function would be curated in the different organization, be it manufacturing, service, or OEMs. The same happened with us, being in Airbus India, and we are the European organization. We get to know as an Indian wholly owned subsidiary of European company in 2017 that we need to sign a contract with our mother company that we have to comply with the GDPR. I think that was the first time when I heard that, yes, as a legal counsel, there was no choice. It was, a task given to us that we need to comply and have to work closely with our global counterparts on the privacy and the data protection topic in India. I was working with the business, procurement, supplier, service provider. I know, and of course, being with working closely with HR as well on the different topics, I know, where the data is, okay, and what is the important. And being a lawyer, I understand the nitty-gritty of compliance as well, why it is important. As Anshu mentioned, that penalties was one of the trigger why organization in India would like to comply with the law. So that was also the same for us. And that was the time it triggered to me that it could be one of the aspects where I can move in coming years, because definitely contracts is a soul for a lawyer, but why not to have a chance and look as a privacy and the data protection as a new career. So that was a time when I had started learning more about the privacy and the data protection. I had, taken few workshops, which is from internal Airbus and from other global institutes, understand why it is important, what we can do. So I take it as a new opportunity, a challenge, and a new working area for me. I think that was the time when I saw my other legal colleagues had switching their career, learning this new law, and start working. In fact, even one experience to share here. There is one colleague. She is was a lawyer, and their organization was not at all required to comply with the GDPR. But because of her efforts, now that organization, and she is a leader of data protection in the industry, because she has paved that privacy and the data protection regime in her organization, even if that GDPR is not applicable. So I believe it's become the responsibility of a lawyer, in-house legal counsel, when they see that tomorrow there would be a new law, to prepare your organization from the beginning. It's an initiative you can take. And being a lawyer, I think I take it as a new challenge and initiative, Alka, in my organization. So no choice, but now has become a personal interest for me to work more on the privacy topic.
Thank you so much, Himani. I want to also extend this question to Vana. I want to understand, were there any difficulties for you to, get into privacy? I know it's at least understood as more legal, prominent, privacy is more legal prominent domain, but we definitely see more technical guys coming in and, implementing the privacy requirements. So I just want to take your comments as well, Vana.
Thank you for your question. Yeah, indeed. First of all, you need to understand the legal side. So you need to have a legal knowledge. Why is that? Because you might face, and I'm talking right now on a global side, on a global scale, you might face different kind of legislation, from consumer protection to GDPR, which is more of a data protection law. But also the privacy directive, the new privacy regulation, when we're gonna see it. So basically, you need to understand the legal side, little of a technical side. as you mentioned, the security part. Basically, most of big companies, if we are referring to them, are handling security standards or compliance standards. So a good knowledge of those standards on how you need to implement the security technical measures. It is basically required for a data protection officer. Yes, there are a lot of certifications, and I'm going to refer only to the IBP ones. You have the CIBP, which is covering the legal background, the legal knowledge, but you also have the CIPT on the technology side, and you might want to take a look at both those to properly understand and fit in this kind of role. Nevertheless, the technical expertise is pretty much required also to understand data flows, the internal processes, and to properly provide good opinions and recommendations to your internal departments. That might require for a DPO to have leadership skills, because you are leading by example, and you are communicating with everyone from all the departments. Perhaps you might need to provide an opinion or just a training to let them know what actually data protection requires from them. But you will also discuss with the executives, and not only that, you will move forward to the third parties, to the customers or to suppliers. So good communication skills will always help you while interacting and let them know what's in it, what's actually this kind of field that many of them are seeing as a scarecrow because it's GDPR, right? But it's a human law. It refers to us as individuals, and it helps us living in a non-discriminatory world, right? Best of luck. From this role, it's best to work as a team to partner with some other departments, right? You will not fit all these roles, right? You will not be the information security officer. You'll be the data protection officer, right? So you'll need to partner with them. You'll not be the legal manager, right? Because the legal manager also has some other tasks to do. They are looking also on the commercial side. So you need to partner with the legal manager as well. So teamwork, it's also essential as a DPO.
Thank you so much, Ivana. I absolutely love your comment that privacy is a human law, right? It allows us, enables us to live in a non-discriminatory world. So thank you so much for that, right? And I think I also want to build up on the same question and ask this to Lata. What is her view? She comes from a technical background into this privacy role. What if there were any challenges, any difficulties that you faced, to get yourself introduced to the legal side of privacy, right?
My privacy journey kind of started when I was part of a risk management team. I used to perform HIPAA risk assessments where the major responsibility was to assess and understand if the administrative controls, technical controls, and the physical controls that are put in place to protect health data were appropriate. With that touch of privacy, when I moved on with Deloitte, I worked with the healthcare industry where I had to perform privacy by design assessment. I was a bit doubtful about myself whether would I be able to do that justice. But I had a great mentor who provided me the required support, guidance, resources, and helped me catch up in this domain appropriately, understanding the legal basis of the knowledge, understanding the privacy principles in depth about the be it transparency, be it a legal basis for processing the data, the whole of data cycle management, how it enters the system and how it gets processed until it's flushed out of the system, the data sharing. So it was kind of a stepping stone for me. It also depends on the passion we have towards the subject or the matter of expertise that we want to achieve. Having the right push or the guidance is also very important. So I would make it into 3 parts. I think Ovana covered a bit of it. Doing your own research on the job training, having appropriate mentor, rightful resources, and collaboration. Deloitte, in fact, provided with a lot of resources, internal resources, anything that you have to work on, anything that you have to learn, it's always made available. Collaboration part of it, I'd like to take an example of Intel here. At Intel, the privacy team was set up 3 years ago at India. The team was existing in all across the world. In India, they set up newly in 2018. And we were the first 3 members who were hired here. The way the team was built or formed was, I came from a technical background. Another colleague of mine comes from a legal background. And the third person comes from a consulting background. Any complex project that came our way, we always used to discuss amongst ourselves, trying to get the legal opinion side of it, adding my technical knowledge from the privacy perspective, and again, getting the consulting background knowledge. So this collaboration works very well, when you get all the perspectives, and we fine tune and improvise our knowledge as well. So for the participants who might be looking for that paradigm shift, right? Do your own research, collaborate, network with people, share the knowledge, gather the knowledge. That would be the key. And of all these, the main important thing is the love to that towards that subject. Your passion, your interest would be the key.
Thank you so much, Lata. I absolutely love everything that you said, right? Starting from getting that right mentor, right? That's super important. If you get to work with someone, be it from legal, be it from technical background, that adds up tremendously to the experience, right? Then you also talked about leadership. Uvana also stressed on leadership quality, communicating with the stakeholders, and that's how we learn, right? That's how we absorb the knowledge and then transition it into our further experiences. So thank you so much, Lata, for consolidating all of your thoughts. So I want to take one question before we move forward. The question is, what kind of education background is required to fit into these roles? So I'll direct this to Samyang and Anshu, if you guys can comment on this.
See, privacy is one domain where, any knowledge that you have, right, is something which would definitely be useful. If you're from a technical background, you have an added advantage, because the way how we as a lawyers, we mainly talk about what the law is, right? We talk about the interpretation of the law. But then when it comes to implementation of all of these requirements is where the technical folks help us, right? I am not very much familiar with the way how technology works. So that's actually a bit of a weakness that I can call from my end, right? Because I know the law. I do not know how the systems work, right? Because when we have to develop as a developer, right, you need to understand when you are developing an application, right, you need to build in privacy by design, right? So when you're creating any website or any application, right, you need to build in the privacy by design. You need to adopt the privacy practices in place, right? And as a technical person, you understand how the systems work, how any database works, right? When it comes to collection of information or any processing, the flow of the data mapping that happens, right? All of those things is what a regulatory requirement is. But how it is done and how the flow happens is something which, as a technical person, will be able to relate it very well. right? They will be able to guide us on, okay, these are some of the risks. These are the areas where it is a vulnerable area where we need to have more security controls in place. So I think irrespective of the education background, it's more on the experience. So what I would recommend for all the newbies is you're from legal or you're from technical background or from marketing background as well, right? You need to understand what privacy is, right? You need to have that experience in privacy. So once you have, so even though you are in marketing domain, right? So what kind of information, to what extent we can, to a customer, can we, do a push notification of all the marketing communications? What kind of survey we can conduct with these, with our customers, right? All of these things is something that an individual needs to understand. So what I would recommend is the certifications is definitely one added advantage that an individual will have. But an experience in the privacy area is what primarily would matter when it comes to, entering into the field of privacy domain.
Yeah, thank you so much, Soumya. Thank you so much for all your comments. Anshu?
Sure. So I agree with what Soumya has said. And also, to tell some of the newbies here and who want to switch the career to privacy, I will tell you that, I have a very diverse background. I am a commerce graduate. I've done my bachelor in commerce. And after that, I followed it up with master's in computer science. So, two very, very different things. But here, I spent like 4 years of my initial career as a software developer. I did implementation of QMS, ISMS, CMMI. So, and now, since last 6 years, since I've joined Yatra, I have been taking care of SOX compliances, ISMS again, program management. So I would say that, all this background comes very handy in switching the career to data privacy. Now, I will just take, 2 minutes to explain that, when we talk about data privacy, we have to understand that it is about privacy of the personal data. So whether you are handling the data of an employee within HR or within admin, you are handling the data of, again, the employees or the third parties, as a person taking care of who's entering the organization, who's leaving the office. So you have a lot of biometrics data there. When it comes to marketing, yes, you would be having a lot of data, a lot of personal data, that of the customer or of the potential customer. When you talk about technology department, yes, you make those applications, you design those applications, wherein those applications will be used to either consume the data or process the data in some way, even if it is data based processing or storage of the data on the cloud. So all in all, we have to understand at this point of time, almost every activity which gets performed in the organization touches the personal data in some way or the other. So whatever background you have, I am sure in some way it will prove to be useful whenever you decide to move into privacy. Of course, needless to say, mentoring, of course, becomes very important, that, if you're able to find the mentor within the organization or outside the organization, that will be really able to help you and guide you. Second thing is, of course, your own interest. If you find that, data privacy is something which is, which is passionate, you want to read about it, you want to learn about it, then you will naturally want to, gain more experience, try your hands at it. So yes, that learning will start from there. And certifications from IAPP will of course help. And Tsaaro is doing a wonderful job here, by doing these webinars, helping people, grow that community within India. So I would say, keep attending these webinars, keep doing these certifications, keep learning, and you will grow your career in data privacy. That's all.
Thank you so much, Anshu and Soumya. I think I completely echo all your comments that privacy is one such area where there is really no educational, mandate, like you have to be from a certain, certain education that you need to do, but at the same time you need to know everything, almost everything, right? What kind of technologies are coming in, how systems are working, things like those, right? So it's the opposite at the same time. So thank you so much, Anshu and Soumya, for your comments. We'll take another question. So Bhavya M asks, I would like to understand various roles and levels available in privacy. So I'll direct this question to Himani and Lata, right? Uh, because of the background, right? So if you guys can take this up.
So Alka, if I will talk about my organization as an Airbus, India and global, so we have a separate function altogether, and the data focus working very closely with the different functions. So data function, like, so at the top we have the data protection officer, and then at a regional level itself, there are different data functional managers who are working with the different functions. They are supporting them in their privacy role. So for example, as an HR data focal, they are working very closely with the all subsidiaries across India, South Asia, and they are working only with the HR, managing the data of the HR function. And then there is a focal on the within the same data protection team, and they are the managers. And there is third domain, very much working closely with the security. So data governance, security. So I would say the three hierarchy in my organization. One is the data protection. Second are the different managers working with the different functional areas, managing the privacy and the data in the particular domain. And then there are the third domain, which I believe Lata would talk more about, as an analyst, as an assessment data assessment officers, those who are working closely with the security and the architect of data mapping and the flow.
So, with respect to roles and responsibilities within the privacy domain, I would say it will be specific to organizations, because at Intel we have a flat organization. However, like Himani said, we have expertise tagged along to different domains. We have a domain expertise for personal data handled in the HR department. We have domain expertise handling SME specific data and the BU. We have domain expertise for IT related projects. We have domain expertise for products. We have domain expertise for IoT and other devices. Based on the hierarchy, we had Chief Privacy Officer at Intel. And of course, we have DPOs again in the European region. And we have people in the managerial role for privacy and the privacy specialists, privacy analysts. So the hierarchy goes like this. And again, within specialists and analysts, we have senior privacy specialists, senior privacy analysts, privacy engineers who are working with the technical domain people again.
Thank you so much, Lata and Himani. Thank you. Thanks for your comments. So I see another question, an interesting one. So I'll request Oana to comment on this one. So Mary says, how do you deal with supervisory authority? Are they helpful? Do you get concrete recommendations or just very general ones?
Oh, well, I guess it depends. It depends a lot on each country, but in general, first of all, the data protection authority's role is to offer you good recommendations, to offer guidelines to improve the interpretation of privacy law. Meaning, even if we are discussing only at the European level, but also in general on the global side in other regions. You basically might want to direct your questions to the data protection previously to start that data processing, right? So you might need to first of all ask for their opinion, their assessment, their interpretation. On another side, there are some good websites like the French Authority website or ICO in the UK, where they have prepared lots and lots of opinions, lots and lots of recommendation on each part of GDPR, and this is a good starting point. So you might need to understand first of all what they have said. Also, many of those authorities are publishing their actions, their fines, or some other um, actions they have taken with data controllers or data processors. So you might want to first of all understand what was their way of understanding the business and apply the law when they have visited and investigated such companies or entities, organizations in overall. They are helpful. As a general conclusion, yes, they are helpful. There are situations where you actually receive concrete recommendations, but there might be some other situations where you just receive general ones. Like, for example, if you are asking what will be the what you want to tackle in a response for data subject access request, basically they will recommend you to actually read for the general guidance that was just published by the European Data Protection Board. So it's probably depends on what you might ask for them, but in general, there is a very good communication between us and the authority.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vana. And I think you will agree that the success ratio of a privacy program also depends on how the communication is between the DPO and the supervisory authority, right? A lot of times we look for opinions, a lot of times there are penalties as well, where based on the communication, based on the relationship, we can, land up in a better position. So thank you so much, Oana, for all your comments. And I think for the participants here, I'm sure there are a lot of DPO enthusiasts, right? So again, I want to direct this question to Oana. You're working as in the capacity of a DPO at Veryfood. I want to understand from you 2-3 points or 2-3 skill sets which are a must to have skill for a DPO.
Communication, very good communication with everyone. Legal knowledge doesn't mean that you have to be a lawyer, obviously, but you need to understand. Certification, please take one internationally recognized certification. Teamwork. You need to partner with everyone in your organization. So yeah, develop on this one, teamwork.
Thank you so much, Vana. We'll take some questions. Being a law graduate, how can I start my career as a privacy or in privacy and compliance? So I'll open this as a discussion with everyone.
I can add a little things here. So what I've seen, there are a lot of companies that are offering trainees programs. So there are some internships, mostly paid internships, where you can start. We do have a program in place like this, and I've heard some other companies also. You need to look at certifications. So might want to take a certification as well to properly make them understand that you are willing and you do like this field.
Thank you so much, Vana. Any other comments, Himani?
So, Alka, I will only compliment what Anna has said. Certification, on-job training, start attending lots of webinar because it gives industry perspective what's going on. Map your stakeholders within organization. Start talking about the privacy with in case if you are a legal in a legal team, start talking with your general counsel, the IT security team, because for that you really need. So first gather the knowledge and then start talking what can be done if you see any gaps, and start giving them few tips what how you can little bit more enhance the privacy in your organization if it is not there. So, and if you are a newbie, as Honest said, gather knowledge through different certification, and I think the industry knowledge by talking to the panelists, different panelists, experts would definitely help.
So
Thank
just
you
adding
so
on
much.
to what Himani said, so at Intel we have the concept of privacy champions, who are part of the BUs, but who will be kind of a flag bearer for privacy. They kind of connect the privacy team with the BU team. So if at all you can play such roles, again, that will be kind of a stepping stone for you to gradually move on to the privacy side of it. But of course, I agree with Orna and Himani that you need to have the required knowledge at the initial place. So looking out for such opportunities, and again, networking with people, understanding where you can get such internships would definitely help.
So to add to what Himani, Anna, and Lata has mentioned, I would also say that it also depends on what stage of your career you currently are and what your aspirations are. So let us say that if you're a fresh pass out, then your path could be very different. You may want to work with a privacy law firm or a cyber security law firm, or you may want to work as a intern or a trainee in an organization, and wherein there is a privacy department or a privacy related work which you can start picking up. Or if you already have some prior experience in legal, so then it also depends that you want to take up a certification, or maybe there's a privacy law specialist also as a course available with IAPP. You may want to do that. So it depends. So you kind of want to first understand that where you currently are and what you aspire to be. And of course, needless to say that at this point of time, if you're not very sure of what you want to do, you can discuss various options with the mentors and various people you can connect to, so that collaboration can also give you some guidance on what path to take.
Thank you so much all for all of your relevant comments, right? We'll move on. We have a lot of questions. We'll move on to the next one. I want to direct this to Soumya. In a country like India, where there is no such strict provisions for data protection, how does the future look like in this regard?
I wouldn't say that there is no strict provision in India. We have data protection regulations. We have Information Technology Act. We have SPDI rules, which is back in 2011, right? And it's the only difference that we see now is the way how the authorities are looking at, right? Probably the authorities in India are not very active, right? But then we have the law in place. Right? We know what are personal information, what are the sensitive personal information, what are the security controls that needs to be there in India. There is a requirement under sensitive personal information rules, which very clearly says that you need to have reasonable security controls, right? Though the law does not very clearly say that you have to be an ISO certified organization, but yes, there is a requirement. In India, we also have industry specific regulations which talk about data localization. Right, and very recently we are talking a lot about tokenization, because wherein the RBI rules says that no e-commerce industry should be collecting or should be storing any debit card or credit card information, because that's a sensitive information. So though the PDP bill is not yet been an act, but then still we do have the regulations in India. It's just that the authorities are not very active. We do have the breach notification. Certain is one, government body which advises. Basically, they are more into advisory. role. If there is any breach or if you have to notify, then CERTIN is the authority to whom we'll have to notify such incident, and they always give us the resource. They give us a helping hand on how we need to set up our security controls in place. So I think in India we do have regulations. Of course, these are more on the banking sector we have, on the health industry we have, because Drugs and Cosmetics Act also talk about personal information, data controls, right? So we have in India, but only thing as such, as a GDPR is not something that we do not have. But PDPP bill is also being considered to be more stringent and most stringent than the GDPR, right? Because GDPR does not consider financial information as a sensitive personal information, if I'm not wrong, right? But in India, financial information is also a sensitive personal information. And as I said, the data localization is one of the requirements that is there. We have, the PDPP will also have a similar framework when it comes to data collection, data minimization, data classifications, the way how we have on the ROPA, right? All of those things is something that we have been discussing a lot in our PDPP bill as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Soumya. And I think that's the trend that we see in India in the corporates, that especially with multinational companies, they try to bring in similar or minimum requirements, minimum privacy requirements onto our data processing activities. So thank you so much, Soumya, for
add on, Alka, on that. So if it is a multinational company, right, and wherein we are, see, GDPR is one regulation that we're talking about, but we do have in China has come up with the new regulations, right? There are many other, international, other countries wherein there are new regulations that are coming up. So when we are operating in a multinational organization, of course, the privacy principles are the same across everywhere, right? The fundamental principles is definitely there.
Yeah, absolutely. Companies are taking proactive approach, and we see that the it's going to get transitioned to medium scale and low scale companies as well, right? With the bill coming up as well. Akarsh in the comment section says that you can also look at Tsaaro.com resources. That can be a good start for you if you are a newbie, or if you're looking to transition into a privacy role. We have very limited time. I just want to ask a prompt question to all of you, right? What is that one learning, or what is that one regret that you think you want to share with our participants? That's something you could, if you were given an opportunity, you could have done in a different way, right? In the privacy context, absolutely. Is there anything that you think you could have done in a different way?
Alka, I would like to take this question first because being from the legal background, working on the data privacy since 2017-18, I would have, taken that IAPP certification or the specialized training from the any credential institute like Tsaaro or anything way back in 2018-19 itself. I think that time the perspective would have been better than 2020 or 21. So in case anyone who would like to change or shift their career or make a move in the privacy, of course, on-job training is important, but a certification or a training from good institute would be also a thing to look at. Rather than the later stage, you can do a simultaneous thing.
Thank you, Himani. And I absolutely agree with you, right? Certifications now are super, super important. Any other comments, guys?
So for me, I don't think it is any regret as such. I think I moved to this domain at the right time. It was around 2015 that I moved to this domain, and it was both by choice and chance, I would say. And I was one of the beta exam taker for CIPT. Again, all thanks to my mentor. What I want to say is not the regret that I have in my life, but just a message that I have to give to all the audience here. it's better late than never. So yeah, do it now. Don't keep anything for tomorrow. So whatever you intend to do, start right now.
Absolutely.
The tagline should be "Let's do it now."
Absolutely,
That's right,
absolutely.
Himani.
Yeah.
Anshu, you want to add a
Sure.
compliment?
So in my case also, I wouldn't say that there is a regret, but given my understanding of, the implementation of the framework, uh, my submission here is that, we should be paying a lot of focus on the training and awareness and the stakeholder management. See, privacy, as such, Indians are not very private people. We love to share about ourselves. So even if you stand in a queue waiting for 5 minutes, you may end up just discussing about your personal life with a total stranger. That's how we are. So that DNA of privacy is not there in us. So that there is a cultural change in the organization, and most of all there is a mindset change of the people who work in the organizations. So I would say that one training, two trainings will not help. You have to keep the training and the awareness program very, very live, because an employee who is at a travel desk will be handling a very different set of personal data from a person who is in HR or in admin or in marketing or in technology department. So that role-based trainings, a lot of awareness, that becomes very, very important and a focal point when it comes to implementation. Ultimately, you have to change the culture of the organization. You have to change the mindset. You have to change the DNA of how people think. So the thought process has to change when you keep drilling the same thing again and again and again. And the second important point is doing your stakeholder management very, very well. I feel that contributes a lot to the success of any program, whether it is privacy or security or anything, any initiative which is done at an enterprise level. Your sponsorship right at the top is very important, because that intent is at the top, that tone is set at the top, so only then it is going to cascade down. So I think these two things play a lot of important role, a pivotal role in the success of your journey of privacy or any certification or any implementation for that matter. That's all.
Absolutely, Anshu. Thank you so much for your comments. Soumya, Oana, any final comments?
Building a little bit on this one, I might say that it's very important to understand the business as well. So, not only for a privacy side, but you might want to know what each company is pretty much doing. Start with understanding the data flows, the business roles. This is pretty much very important in this kind of roles.
Absolutely.
So nothing as such as a regret, but then what I would like to pass on the message to participants is do a lot of research, right? There are a lot of white papers. You do have podcasts as well, which I've been hearing a lot, where there are many experts who discuss a lot on privacy, irrespective of the kind of industry that we are in, right? What does the law say? There are many resources like Tsaaro, right? One such resource wherein you will find a lot of materials, right? So it depends upon an individual's interest. So if you are interested in this privacy field, then what I would recommend is start researching. You have many forums where they give you a lot of guidance, and IIPP certification is one thing which I would definitely recommend. And Tsaaro has been very helpful in giving me a very good training, and there are a lot of materials as well in the platform that you can definitely look at.
So thank you so much. Thanks a lot, all of you. It's been a pleasure to host this session. A lot of learning that I'm taking back, and I'm sure all the participants are as well taking back. I wish you all the very best for today and for the journey ahead. Happy Republic Day, happy Data Privacy Month. And thank you so much again for accepting our invite and taking out time to join this session.
All the best to all the participants who are wishing to get into the privacy role. So good luck.
Yep. Good luck.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, guys. Thanks, participants. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.